That's why I'm gonna get him to safety. And then we go to war.
Season 1 of Marvel's Runaways has come to a close and left us with quite a few cliffhangers, so let's break it down right here on what happened. How's it going, everyone? Lisa here, and we have come to the end of Season 1 of Marvel's Runaways on Hulu. Now, after 10 episodes, we finally have our kids running away and plenty of setups for the drama that will be ensuing in the newly announced Season 2. Yep, Hulu has renewed the show for a second season that's going to consist of 13 episodes, which is 3 more than the first season had. Now, just a quick recap of what we've been through this season. The kids learn that their parents are members of the Pride, but that organization isn't what they thought it was. The Pride actually work for a being named Jonah. Every year, the Pride must sacrifice someone, usually a young runaway teen from the Church of Gabborim, in order to make Jonah kind of youthful again. Over the years, Jonah has been having them prepare a site for digging, which is said to be for a school, but really it's about something that's underneath the ground that Jonah needs. Now, since he says the last sacrifice the Pride did was the last, what is underneath this dig site that must be a life source for keeping Jonah going if there's no more sacrifices? The kids work together to find out the truth about their parents and Jonah, and eventually the parents learn that their kids know everything, and now they're trying to figure out just what to do about Jonah and their kids themselves. Along the way, we learn that Molly has abilities thanks to the rocks she was holding during the explosion that killed her parents, which are the same rocks that were pulled from the construction site that are similar to the ones the pods are made of used for the sacrifices. So these things must be helping give Jonah life. Carolina also has special abilities that include glowing, flying, and shooting out beams of light and energy, which she gets from Jonah, who is her real father. As far as the finale goes, like I said, our teens finally run away. The truth about the Hernandezes and Amy's deaths are finally revealed to the rest of the members of Pride, and yes, Leslie had something to do with both of them, not Tina, surprisingly. Gert's dinosaur finally gets her name of Old Lace like in the comics. Carolina learns that Jonah is for sure her father, and she shares another kiss with Nico. And then we're all left wondering just whose side Alex is on. So let's break down this episode in a little more detail. The episode begins with the parents and kids still having their standoff at the construction site. Gert's dinosaur shows up in an attempt to help rescue them, but Dale ends up shooting her with a dart. Chase then attempts to blast the parents with his fistigons, but Tina uses a staff to create a barrier. The kids continue to try to fight when Jonah appears and blasts them with his little beam of light and energy. He's pretty much ready to do whatever it takes, even if that means killing the kids. Carolina ends up telling the other kids to run and that Jonah is there for her, so she is going to stand off with him. And she ends up going head to head with her dad. They both shoot their beams at each other, and we don't immediately see the outcome of the fight, but we do know that the blast caused all the lights and electronics in the area, as well as the cars, all of that, to die. Nico is now really worried about the fate of Carolina, so she runs back to the construction site and sees that Jonah is the one left standing, and he's telling the Pride that they need to find their kids. Nico runs back to the rest of the kids and tells them that they really gotta book it out of there. So this is where we get our kids finally running away, as the parents also decide what they're going to do about Jonah. The members of the Pride minus Leslie meet, and they finally realize that they've been played by Jonah, and also his inner circle, which consists of Leslie, Frank, and now they think Carolina. Dale and Stacy are surprised to learn of Molly's powers, and they think it had something to do with the explosion. After being accused of, again by Jeffrey, for killing the Hernandezes, Tina finally reveals what she knows. She reveals that it was Leslie who actually caused the explosion. Catherine now wants answers about what the kids really know, so she and Jeffrey decide to seek those answers out from Carolina, who lost her fight to Jonah and is being nursed back to health in Leslie's private meditation room at the church. Leslie is mad at Frank for going to Jonah, while Frank is mad at Leslie for mind-wiping him and having a child with Jonah. Yeah, marital problems, right? Jonah shows up and tells the two to leave, that he can look after Carolina, and when Carolina wakes up, Jonah reveals to her what she's probably already kind of figured out thanks to the fact that they both glow and fought with each other, that he is in fact her father. Now, after their group meeting, Dale and Stacy are now determined to figure out just what is down the hole in that construction site. They realize it has something to do with some kind of life forms that they don't understand, but Stacy then remembers that they have Jonah's serum, so maybe that is the key to figuring out what makes Jonah tick and maybe the key to stopping him and killing him. Their doorbell then rings and it is Leslie, Tina, Robert, and Janet. Jeffrey and Catherine have opted to not join in on the meeting since they have put finding Alex on the top of their priorities. The two of them instead go to the church to get answers from Carolina, but Jonah won't let them near her. They leave the church deciding they don't want to work with Jonah anymore no matter what the consequences, and that they need to find Alex before Jonah does. Back in Dale and Stacy's, Leslie says that they now have a common enemy that they need to do something about. Jonah. Yeah, it seems like Leslie's now realizing just how bad Jonah is and that they've all been used, including her, and she's ready to fight back. She also admits to her terrible mistakes, which include killing Hernandez and also having a part in Amy's death. Yeah, when Amy hacked the WizTech servers, it set off an alarm that Tina knows about, but that alarm also went to Jonah. Now, Jonah wanted to make sure Amy hadn't seen anything, so he was going to, quote, talk to her, but Leslie realized that Jonah was probably going to do something else, so she is the one who sent the text to Amy saying that she may be in danger. Unfortunately, it seems like Amy didn't get that text quite in time, but Leslie admits that she does not know exactly what ended up happening, but essentially Jonah killed Amy. Tina is now pissed and wants to kill Leslie, but Leslie has something on her side. She says that they need her to get close enough to kill Jonah, so touche. Now let's get back to what the kids are up to. They realize they need to get off the streets, so they look up and see the Griffith Observatory and head into the woods nearby. When Gert asks what's next, Alex and Nico have differing opinions. Alex thinks they should leave town while Nico is determined to go back and find Carolina. They end up all deciding to go back for Carolina, so Molly, Chase, and Nico head to the thrift store to get some new clothes while Gert heads to get snacks and Alex attempts to go find a laptop to use. At the thrift store, Nico and Chase end up discussing their hookups at the school dance, and Chase reveals to her that he really does like Gert. Now, when all the kids are back together, they tell Gert that for the next part of their mission, they're going to have to leave someone behind, and that someone is unfortunately Gert's pet dinosaur. Now, Gert is not too happy about this, but she realizes she has to say goodbye, so we get a pretty emotional scene between Gert and her dinosaur. Who thought that that's what would stir up the emotions, right? Well, we also get the scene in which Gert ends up naming the dinosaur Old Lace, just like in the comics, and that's thanks to a flyer for old movies that she saw that said arsenic and Old Lace on it. Now, Gert promises to come back for Old Lace, and we see Old Lace run off into the woods. The kids then head off to the coffee shop for the next part of their plan, where they intercept Vaughn's coffee. Yeah, you remember Vaughn, Leslie, and Frank's assistant at the church. They tell him they need their help and try to tell him that something is up at the church, that they have Carolina, and if he's noticed all the missing parishioners once a year, and how Jonah is now in charge. Now, Vaughn, he doesn't want to believe them and just wants his 6 shots of espresso back, but he doesn't get it and he walks away, so the kids have to come up with another plan. That new plan includes Molly and Chase getting recruited by the Church of Gaborum, put into the van and taken to the church like they are runaways. Alex meanwhile heads off to try to find them a ride as Gert and Nico stand watch outside the church. Alex ends up hiding behind the Church of Gaborum van and overhears his parents leaving the church saying that they're done with Jonah and that they need to find the kids before Jonah does. Alex then steals the van. While Gert and Nico are waiting outside the church, we get a little bit more of the relationship talk as Nico, of course, brings up Chase and reveals to Gert that Chase really likes her. Inside the church, Molly and Chase are filling out their paperwork, and Molly's like, what do I put for the emergency contact? And Chase is like, put an A. All of a sudden, there is a hand on their shoulder, and it is Vaughn who tells them to come with him. They're stopped by those 2 main recruiter ladies, and Vaughn lies saying that there's something special about these 2, so he's bringing them to Leslie. Well, the ladies decide to have a look at the forms just in case and agree that Leslie is going to like them, and it must be because of the fact that they have no emergency contact, which means that they pretty much have no family and will make good sacrifices. I'm just wondering why the 2 ladies didn't recognize Molly and Chase. They seem like they're kind of like Leslie's right-hand ladies at the church, right? And there's always events at the church that seems like the kids are also at, those fundraisers, so wouldn't they have seen Molly and Chase at some point? Oh well, Vaughn ends up taking Molly and Chase to Leslie's private meditation room where he thinks Carolina is. Molly busts down the door and they leave with Carolina. Vaughn, meanwhile, runs off as the trio try to make their way out of the church. They run back into those 2 ladies who have now suspected something and call security. But our trio manages to dodge them and make it out of the church and into the van with Alex and the rest of the group. Vaughn, meanwhile, has gone to tell Leslie that the kids got away. It seems like after the coffee run-in, Vaughn went to Leslie to kind of fact-check what was going on, and Leslie actually assisted in the breakout of Carolina, even though the kids don't know that she helped. The kids are now back at their base camp in the woods, and Nico and Alex are talking, and Alex asks Nico if she'd ever call her parents. Nico's like, no, what are you talking about? And kind of walks off, where she runs into Carolina changing in the back of the van. Nico tells Carolina thanks for what she did for them, and then she kisses Carolina. They have that moment and then go back to find the rest of the group and realize that Alex is missing.
Oh my god, that little shit run and called his parents.
Alex indeed left to find a payphone, and he does make a call, but it isn't to his parents. It turns out that he calls Darius. Now Darius arrives wanting to know what's up with the construction site and his friends, and Alex says he'll fill him in, but he needs something first, and we see them make a deal. We then see Alex return to the group, and he hides a gun in his pants before he sees them, and then he tells the group that he was making a call, but it wasn't to his parents. He then tells them it doesn't matter who the call was to, but they got what they needed, and he pulls out a big roll of cash. They then head to the bus depot, where Alex brings up that maybe they don't have to leave, which is interesting since he was the one at the beginning to suggest that they should leave town. While the other kids are trying to decide where they should go, Gert finds Old Lace in the dumpster outside the bus depot, and then when she goes to run in and tell the group that Old Lace is there, the group sees the TV that has an Amber Alert on it for Molly, saying that she may be involved with a group of people involved in the death of Destiny. And all of a sudden, all of the kids' pictures are on the TV, and they realize they are now wanted, and they run out of the bus depot. Now, as they run out, we see the camera focus on a newspaper that says, "Earthquake Watch is LA next." Okay, so who made the call to the police? Right now, all signs kind of point to Jeffrey, who we saw in a scene before the bus depot, telling Catherine that he was about to make a call that would change everything. He says he's going to get the kids to safety, then it's time that the parents, go to war. Since Jeffrey has the police on his side, maybe he thinks if the cops pick up the kids, he can have them protected. Now, of course, the kids don't know that the parents have decided to turn on Jonah, so there's no way they're letting themselves be brought in by the cops. Another theory here is that maybe Alex had Darius call the cops to turn them all in. Another cliffhanger we have is the scene with Jonah and Frank. They're in the room where Victor's box is, and Frank tells Jonah he'd do anything for Carolina's safety. Jonah tells Frank that their future is going to be very bright together, and that once Victor is back on his feet, things will get very interesting. So how is Jonah planning on using Victor? Why will it get interesting? Is he going to use Frank to maybe sacrifice and revive Victor? However, they don't have that second box, so how would that work? We also see Jonah look at his arm, and it seems like his skin is becoming gross and flaky again, which means that his sacrifice is kind of running out. And he said previously that he doesn't need any more sacrifices, so how is he going to be able to survive? Is he going to get to his precious rocks underground in time? I also almost forgot to mention another scene which actually could be very important. There is a scene where Jonah ends up getting a text from an unknown number saying, "Mission accomplished, let me know what's next." Now the scene where he gets the text is right after the scene where Vaughn and Leslie talk about Carolina's rescue. So who is sending Jonah the text? Is it Leslie? Is it Vaughn? Is it maybe Alex? At this point, it seems like no one can really be trusted. Was it one of the other kids? Who is the double crosser in this moment? So at the end of the season, we have the kids now on the run since they're wanted by the police. Jeffrey and Catherine have sort of split up from the rest of the Pride in order to try to find Alex, and the rest of the Pride are now ready to try to kill Jonah. Jonah's last sacrifice is beginning to wear off, and it seems like he's recruited Frank to help him with whatever is next. As far as questions we're left with, we have who is the mole who is helping Jonah and sent that text? What deal did Alex make with Darius, and how did he know Darius' number in the first place? Why is he hiding the gun from the rest of the kids? Also, what does Jonah want with Frank and Victor? Who on earth can we even trust on this damn show? And will this big earthquake disrupt everything? I still don't think I can trust Alex as far as I can throw him, though. He's been acting very weird this entire season if you go back and kind of watch his language and his movements and how he, makes plans and everything. So I feel like, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the comics, that he could be the mole. But is he the mole in the same way he was in the comics? Or maybe are they using him in a different kind of twist of things? Is he playing more than one side? What is he up to? Because I definitely feel like he is up to no good. I'm definitely excited to see just how all these storylines play out in season 2. Seems like everyone's pretty set on taking Jonah out, and in a perfect world, the kids would realize their parents have had a change of heart and they'd all team up and take on Jonah, but I'm kind of doubting that's gonna happen. Now it's time for you all to weigh in on this season in the comments. What did you think of the season as a whole and the finale? Who do you think sent those texts? Can Alex be trusted? Who put out the Amber Alert? What is anybody up to, and what do you want to see happen in season 2? Let me know, then you can check out more of my videos right over here and subscribe if you like what you see. Thanks so much for hanging out with me to talk all things season 1 of Runaways, and I hope to see you when season 2 premieres.